Are you struggling to handle your loved one's estate after their departure? We know how overwhelming that can be, especially during a time when you're grieving. I'm estate planning attorney Mike Smith with Smith Barid LLC, and I'm one half of the estate planning guys. We simplify estate planning and estate administration, we call it, for individuals so that they can focus more on the emotional needs of their family, more on healing, and less on the legal paperwork and hassles like that. With that said, let's dive into these 7 steps of handling a loved one's estate so that you'll have an overview of what needs to be done to properly take care of managing someone's estate and wrapping up their affairs. The first thing you got to do is gather information. So you're going to need a copy of the death certificate, a copy of your loved one's estate planning documents. So that could be a will if they had a will, or a trust if they had a trust in place. And generally you're going to find those somewhere in your loved one's home, or they may be on file with an attorney, or they could be filed in the probate court of the county where they lived before they passed away. The next thing you're going to need is asset information. So sometimes it can be very difficult to know all the assets that someone owned when they passed away, but you're going to need to do the best that you can to make a list of all of the assets that your loved one owned before they passed away. So things like bank accounts, brokerage accounts, real estate, businesses. Just make a list of everything that you can think of that you know that they owned. And there may be things that come to light later when you look through the mail that comes to your deceased loved one's home. You may find statements for accounts that you weren't aware of and things like that. But you need to make the best list that you can of the assets that you know that your loved one had before they died. That information is going to be important in filing a probate or taking care of the trust. And so it's a great place for the attorney to start with that list of assets that you have. And, understandably, there may be things that slip through the cracks that you'll find out about later in the process. So once someone's appointed to handle the estate, we can go through a process of gathering up those assets that maybe have been overlooked. But you do the best job you can of making a list of those. So if you're interested in learning more about how we help families protect their legacies from probate, predators, and government intrusions, I wrote a free book titled The Ultimate Gift that lays it all out. If you'd like to pick up your free copy of The Ultimate Gift, simply click the link below, give us your address and a credit card for shipping and handling fees, and we'll ship it out to you free of charge. Read The Ultimate Gift so you can learn how to protect your family. The next thing you need to do is to notify Social Security. So Social Security needs to know that your loved one passed away so that either one, the records are current and reflect their fact that they passed away and there won't be any more payments coming to Social Security from their paycheck, or 2, if they are retired and they're receiving Social Security benefits, that Social Security will be notified so that the benefits won't continue to be paid. Because if those asset payments continue, then Social Security is going to recoup them. So you want to get those stopped as soon as possible. So you need to notify Social Security that your loved one has passed away, and they're probably going to want a copy of the death certificate. The next thing you need to do is to safeguard any property. So that can include things like the real estate. So if your loved one owned a home when they passed away, it would be a good idea to get the locks changed on the home, for example, because you don't know who may have a key to the house and be able to go in and take things out. And if you are the person responsible for wrapping up the estate, then you have a responsibility to make sure that those assets are safeguarded. Likewise, if there's a car, you're going to want to talk with the insurance company and let them know that your loved one's passed away and put the appropriate coverages on the car if you need to continue coverage. You're going to want to make sure you secure the keys to the car so that someone can't go off and drive that car without being authorized to do so. Likewise, if there are outbuildings with things like ATVs or lawnmowers or any thing like that in them, you're going to want to make sure that those outbuildings are secured so that nobody can break into them and potentially steal those things. You're also going to want to make sure that you notify the credit agencies, so Experian, TransUnion, etc., that your loved one has passed away, because there are people out there who are trying to steal information from our deceased loved ones and open accounts in their name. So you want to make sure that you let the credit reporting agencies know so that they can lock down that credit and there won't be any opportunity for anyone to steal that information. The next thing you're going to want to do is to address any outstanding debts. So you will need to freeze any bank accounts by simply letting the bank know that your loved one has passed away. and they'll put a hold on those accounts until someone is appointed by the court as the executor or personal representative, or they're contacted by a trustee who would have authority over those accounts if they were titled into the trust. But that way, the bank can make sure that there are no unauthorized withdrawals from the accounts, and that any automatic payments that were set up to come out of those accounts are stopped. So notifying the bank, letting them know, notifying any credit card companies. Like I said, sometimes people may try to steal the identity of a deceased loved one, but they could also obtain the credit card number and go out and charge things on that account if it hasn't been frozen. So you want to let the credit card company know that your loved one has passed away so that they can freeze that account and there won't be any unauthorized charges made on the credit card account. Number 5, you're going to want to file any insurance claims. So if your loved one had life insurance, you're going to want to file a claim with the life insurance company. They will need some information to do that. Most likely they'll need a copy of the death certificate, and they'll need information about your loved one that passed away, like where they were residing when they died, that sort of social security number, that sort of information. And then they will process that claim. And depending on the situation, it could be a very quick process, a few weeks, to a longer process if the insurance policy was large and they sometimes need to do an investigation just to make sure that the claim is legitimate. Then that could take a little bit longer if it's a larger policy. But you want to make sure to file those claims as soon as possible so that you can get that cash coming in to help cover any expenses that there are. The next thing you're going to do, number 6, is to research any employee benefits that may have been available. So your loved one may have had, for example, a 401k, or they may have had some sort of retirement benefits that have a survivor's benefit for a surviving spouse or child. So you want to contact the HR department at the company where your deceased loved one worked to find out if there were any benefits that were available. Sometimes there's group life insurance as well. So you're going to find out if there are any benefits that were available or are available for the survivors, for the loved one's family. The last thing that you want to do is you want to contact an attorney. So if you have to go through the probate process, or if you have a trust that needs to be administered, it's very helpful to have an attorney assist with that. In our firm, a lot of what we do is helping people with creating estate plans, and then we also help them to administer those when a loved one passes away. And it's very helpful to have someone who does this every day, who has experience with the types of issues that come up, to make sure that everything is done right and as quickly as possible. I say as quickly as possible because understandably, the attorneys don't have a lot of control over what happens once a probate petition is filed and it goes to the court. At that point in time, the court's timelines kind of take over. But the attorney will make sure that things happen as quickly as possible to get the estate resolved in a timely fashion. And the most important thing is, if you hire an attorney to handle this process for you, then it's one thing you can take off your plate. It's one thing you don't have to worry about. And that will let you focus on the grieving process and mourning your loved one who's passed away, rather than having to deal with the legal hassles involved in wrapping up their estate. So if you need help with that, we offer comprehensive estate planning and administration services, probate and trust administration. All you have to do is click the link in our description below to schedule a free discovery call, and you can find out how we can help. If you'd like to learn more about estate planning, keep watching our videos, and we're going to tell you more about what you need to know about estate planning and how to make sure that your family has the easiest time dealing with wrapping up your estate when that day comes and we pass away. So if you'd like to make this process less daunting and take one thing off your plate by getting professional help with wrapping up your loved one's estate, click the button in our description below and you can schedule a free discovery call with our office to find out what services we can provide and how we can help you and your family to make this process easier.